Hey, we're live.
Hello.
That was quick. Hey guys, sorry for the 2-minute delay, but we are live here to talk about the Google Pixel 2, Google Home Mini, Google Home Max.
Googly.
What he said, and I shouldn't be talking because you are the master of these ceremonies.
Yep.
I'm going to be hot swapping with
Jon Porter.
Yes, who will be talking about the home stuff. I am Mr. Phone. I got my hands on the Pixel XL and the Pixel XL2.
Very exciting.
Indeed.
So, tell me a bit about them.
Okay, so 2 phones announced from Google. Oh, actually, before I do start talking about these phones, we have people in the live chat already. Hello. We've got Krantipal Sohal and Saktha Parihar, both claiming to be first in the comments section.
The battle for first.
Indeed. But actually, guys, we were first. Sorry. But we are here to take your questions, so that live chat is there for you to use. I did get my hands on both these phones. John saw the Mini and Max from a distance and has some very strong opinions. He's not short on those.
He certainly does.
So the Pixel 2 was first a small phone. I say small, 5 inches.
Right.
So still bigger than an iPhone.
Yep.
It's like well-spec'd flagship phone, but in a body that looks more like a mid-ranger.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because it doesn't have an 18:9 display.
Okay.
So the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the LG G6, in fact it was LG who introduced their full vision display. Or, yeah, something like that. And what you end up with is very little bezel around your phone.
Yep.
Anyone who saw the Pixel, most of the comments in our video of it, which you can check out, and you can also check out our article on Tech Radar, said, all the bezel! And the bezel's actually there for a reason with this phone. It has front speakers.
Right.
So that's good because the old Pixels didn't.
And stereo speakers make a massive difference because it changes the way that you can get the sounds. That if you have one speaker, you have a mono setup basically, and so having
And
two
with a
front-facing
mono,
speakers,
you're going to block it.
Yeah.
If you're gaming, if you're holding your phone in landscape in any way, you will likely have hands, I definitely have hands that are big enough to block the speaker, muffling the sound and ruining the whole experience unless you're plugged in with headphones.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because obviously if you take something like the iPhone at the moment, which is all like no bezel, no bezel, no bezel, no bezel, and like,
But that's
even
the iPhone X.
Yeah, so the iPhone
Or 10.
X.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, but the iPhone 10 is all about the no bezel.
Yeah.
The advert for the latest Samsung phones is like dash bashing the bezels out of the way.
Bashing the bezels?
Bashing the bezels out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And so it seems strange that a phone would be coming out and it's like very definite bezels.
Yeah, in fact, Google is saying definite bezels, but they're also saying definite no bezels with the bigger one.
Yeah.
Which has no bezels,
Yeah.
or very small bezels by comparison. And I think what Google is saying is, if you care about this kind of stuff, then we have something for you in the higher price bracket. If you don't, and you just want the same chipset, the Snapdragon 835, the same camera experience, that rear camera, which has a really smart optical image stabilization, electrical image stabilization setup, got the highest score on DxOMark 98. If you care about the fundamentals that make your phone a good smartphone, just get the small one. It's £650 by contrast to £800.
Okay. And are you thinking that this is going to be stealing people away from a different phone? Because it seems...
Google would want that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but it seems like that's the interesting thing that happened first time round with the Pixels, was that a lot of people that were typical Apple customers were going, oh, what about this phone? And were asking us, like, do you reckon that this is something I should move from the iPhone to this? Which is really interesting, isn't it?
It is.
And do you still think that it's that kind of customer base that they're trying to...
I do and I don't. I think that what's really interesting is Google made a big point that the Pixel, the regular one, or the Pixel 2 should I say, hasn't scrimped by comparison to the Pixel 2 XL. It has the same camera rather than have a dual camera set up on one, a single camera set up on the other. And it has the same fundamental hardware. But actually, I think that's a moot point. They're fundamentally different phones. They're offering different things, whereas the iPhone 8 is just a small version of the 8 Plus. Just look at it and you're like, oh, it's the same phone. These are two fundamentally different offerings.
Okay.
And so I think, and also the Pixel X2 is, sorry, all the names. The Pixel 2 is the more affordable of the two, perhaps more so than the iPhone 8, depending on your region. I know Pixel 2 price in Europe is quite high. So yeah, I think they will be stealing some people from Apple, but they're also trying to offer people a little bit more versatility, a little bit more to choose from, while keeping those flagship elements, focusing on the camera and speakers and waterproofing and no headphone jack.
Right, no headphone jack.
No headphone jack. This is the first Pixel with no headphone jack. And in fact, as I glanced over the comments, Sarthak Parahas says, "Why isn't there a headphone jack in the Pixel 2 when Google made such a big deal about it last year?" Yeah, so anyone who didn't watch last year's Pixel launch, Google was basically slamming Apple for removing the headphone jack.
Yeah.
And then this year, bye-bye headphone jack.
Bye headphone jack. Which, I mean...
Do you care?
No.
Why?
Because I totally understand the thing about real estate in the handset, that taking up that amount of space with a 3.5 jack isn't good common sense. And actually, you can get...
But that's only if you regard it as dispensable.
Yes. Which it's getting to be. Like, that's the point, isn't it? That the headphone jack, that a lot of people would probably argue that the headphone jack is a more reliable way of getting your music from your device to your ears than Bluetooth, or than by an adapter, or than anything else. But like, now that's the case. Possibly, you could argue, but we're very quickly getting to a stage where it isn't. And
I agree with you. To a point. And that point is when my batteries die on my Bluetooth headphones. And then I always have my cable in my bag, and I always just plug in. But I agree. I do. What do you guys think? Let me know in the live chat, because all of you are like, no headphone jack. Rah! Give me scenarios where you actually need a headphone jack, where you want a headphone jack. I'm going to do some quick shout outs, because we've got a lot of questions. We started this room with 2 people claiming to be first. And now we have a lot of you. So let's get to it. First off, hi from Thailand to Ponlawat Jantawadi. Yes, I think I pronounced that right. I hope I did. Nanda Kishore, like your videos very much. Thanks, dude. And your speed sketching. Yes, winning. UK Pixel cost is 64 gigabytes, £800. And that's a Pixel XL. Thanks for that information, M. Atari. Al Pimp, I use the speakers rarely. Usually I have headphones when out, or laptop, or just watch on a TV. I never use speakers, so I don't care about front-firing speakers. Interesting. When will your camera review of the Pixel 2 be? When we get a Pixel 2. So we're hoping to have these devices in the next few weeks. For anyone who didn't see the launch event information, check techradar.com. I'll get an article into the live chat. It has everything, but the Pixel 2 will launch slightly before the Pixel 2 XL. Pixel 2 XL, especially the black and white one, sold out like that on pre-orders. It's a really pretty. I described it before as like a funky panda. That's what I call it, the black and white variant. And so a lot of you guys saying iPhone X is gimmicky and iPhone X is overpriced. That's Anil and Sarthak. When will you make... can you guys talk about the camera? Yes, we can.
Go on then.
Okay, so it has a single camera on the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. People are getting more au fait with dual cameras. They expect dual cameras on their flagship. So Google kind of threw us with this one. Well, they didn't, because there were so many leaks that said it had a single camera. But what's cool about this is they still managed to do the dual camera effects with a single camera. You can still have that blurry background, sharp foreground. Now, Google is using a Sony sensor with dual pixel technology, and what they claim is each pixel is divided into a left and a right, and it's able to get double the information, so it can sort of emulate perspective information. And with machine learning, which is probably something we'll talk about a bit later, with machine learning, it gets to know the types of pictures that you take, and it can gauge perspective information. So it can give you dual camera results in a single camera module. Perhaps more importantly, you've got optical image stabilization on here, which you didn't have on the old Pixels, and you've also got electrical image stabilization too. How that works is it will optically, anyone who doesn't know how optical image stabilization works, you've got a lens that's effectively on board bearings or some kind of system that compensates for your handshake. This is excellent, but actually electrical image stabilization can be better for video. So we'll optically image stabilize while you're doing the recording, then process that information and electrically stabilize it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also got advanced HDR, a very, very fast shooting mode, and it's a comprehensive camera.
Sometimes we have moments where you go, that's all in a phone. Like, do you ever still have those moments where, if you think back to only a few years ago when phones on cameras were terrible, and now the fact that you could speak for that long about those features.
I hadn't finished.
I know
well.
you hadn't.
Yeah, no, but, like, thank you for shutting me up, because I can just go on about these things. But it's incredible the amount that. And people say that we've come close to hitting parity with regards to how far the phone evolution is going to go. But I think that's rubbish. Like, you wait. There are already 3 cameras on the back of phones with Project Tango. We'll see what people can do. I can see it, like 4 or 5 cameras around the back, stitching pictures together. And 42. We've already had a 42 megapixel camera phone with a pure view. So yeah.
So it's an interesting thing that sorry, I can't remember your name, that one of our commenters was saying about not caring about the speakers, is that we have come such a long way with cameras and screens that actually the speakers are one of the things in phones that have been mostly left alone because people don't use them. So there is always the possibility that speakers on phones could be a direction that it goes in, that's the next big leap in terms of something becoming much better.
Definitely. I mean, it's been very incremental with speakers, and that's because of the space constraint that defines speaker quality. So you've
But we're getting some amazing things that are happening in terms of all of the computational side of it to adjust for those things.
Definitely.
And so, like, Dirac are doing some amazing work on putting software into phones so that you can get what sounds like a more genuine 3-dimensional sound experience out of a speaker that takes up less space. And so, these things are happening. There are developments happening.
I'm excited. Like, thus far, it's always been mods. It's always been plugins that give that improved speaker quality. Absolutely. Like, I think with screens, we don't need them to be necessarily any sharper. I mean, to put a 4K display on the XZ Premium versus 2K display on the Samsung Galaxy S8, it's the technology that makes a difference. OLED, it's not actually the sharpness. In design, the 18:9 is the new thing. Like removing all the bezels. I think battery tech, we need a breakthrough in battery tech. And speaker tech, and battery tech actually is something that's excellent in the Pixels. Not in terms of the new technology, but the Pixel XL especially has a really big battery. 3,500 over 3,500 milliamps.
Now, what seems to be happening, and correct me if I'm wrong on this because I possibly could be, that it seems to be that we get developments in battery technology, but then what happens is manufacturers go, we've got more battery to play with, and so then they do loads of developments that are more battery hungry, and so you end up always with a phone that lasts about a day.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that, like, the battery tech hasn't come on in terms of the core technology. LG's done some stuff where they have made different shaped batteries. So they made a flexible battery so that they could fit it into a phone that curved, the LG G Flex. You could bend that thing and the battery would bend with it. But what you also have is a lot of the onus placed on the chipset and artificial intelligence and artificial learning. So the more you use your phone, the more your phone gets to know you, and therefore knows when to power down the high power cores and activate the low power cores. And the new Snapdragon 835 from Qualcomm, which is the chipset in the Pixel 2, which again bodes very well for it by comparison to the original Pixel with the Snapdragon 821, it's going to have really good battery life. It just will. So I'm very excited for that. So that might actually tip you over your 1-day marker. Wow, I know. More than a day of battery, and it's not the Lenovo P2. What? Okay, so let's take a few of your comments. What do you think of the Pixel Buds? That's from Amo. I'm going to leave that one for my colleague Jon Porter, so if you can bank that.
I can.
He'll be on after me to talk about the Google Home Max, the Google Home Mini, and the other stuff, the little scary camera stuff, maybe even some AI bits as well. And I'll hope that was a good enough conversation about the camera for you. If you've got any specific questions, let me know. I did try out the blur background mode. It seemed to work well, and the more you use it, the more it'll also get to know how you take pictures and hopefully improve. Does the more Google Home stuff have interchangeable base colors? We'll bank that one, Lorenzo. Thanks for that. Note 8 or Google Pixel XL2. If you need a pen, Note 8. If you don't, Google Pixel 2 XL, I think. The reason I say that is because the Note 8 is going to be more expensive, and it's also going to have worse battery life because it's got a bigger screen. If you like Samsung's user interface, if you like the dual camera setup, then you'll probably want to go for the Note 8. Don't get me wrong, this isn't me saying that the Pixel 2 XL or Pixel, is a better phone. It's me saying that on paper, it's really the S Pen that's going to differentiate them. Also, I held them side by side, and I don't know about you, but like the Note is so much bigger.
Yep.
And the Pixel is much, much more manageable. The Pixel is more like an LG V30. And also those front speakers that I was talking about. And also stock Android. Stock Android means you're going to get the latest security updates as and when they come, and the latest version of Android. Hopefully that answered your question. In my opinion, this is Tyler in response to our question about the headphone jack.
Yep.
It doesn't matter about the headphone jack. People just like to complain about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there is always going to be a certain element of change is scary, because you get used to things being a certain way and something changes, and when it's something that you use as often as the headphone jack, it's very easy to have the knee-jerk reaction of, why are you taking my thing away from me? But yeah, we'll see.
We will. And Brian Calderon says, if I don't upgrade my phone, I can still use my headphone jack. So no one's forcing me to upgrade, so why complain about it?
Yep.
Point taken. Can you... Sarthak, can you talk about the headphone jack? In all caps, I hope you're joking with that one. And I think we are almost there with the question. Squeeze functionality. Enriquez, thank you. You were a boss, because I was going to forget that. Squeezy phones. Two squeezy phones. So both of these you squeeze in order to activate Google Assistant, and I used it on both. And while on the HTC U11 with its very curvaceous, flat, or not curved glass sides, it was slippery, and squeezing it was a little bit awkward. It would do it when you squeezed it.
Yeah.
These feel better.
My main fear with squeezy phones is that if you've got it in your pocket and you're walking and you squeeze your phone because you're walking, what's to stop it from being like, they've squeezed?
That was Google's fear as well. Until Google told us that they can count for pocket squeezes. They know the difference between a grip squeeze and a pocket squeeze, and even an intentional grip squeeze and an unintentional grip squeeze.
So if you're just watching a film and you get very excited and you squeeze your phone, it'll be like, that wasn't a real squeeze.
That scene in the Titanic with the iceberg. Yeah. And if you're running for the
Spoilers.
bus... Sorry. Wait, okay. And if you're running for the bus and you securely hold your phone in order to leg it. So Google says it's smart, it's accounted for it, and it was actually relatively accurate with the U11 on HTC. I used it quite a bit. What annoyed me about the U11 was it just did too many things. It was confusing. I was like, wait, is it a long squeeze to activate my camera, or is it a long squeeze for Alexa? Wait, but I have Alexa and Google Assistant. It's like, squeeze this for Google Assistant. Works from off. Yeah, I quite like it. The way it also works, from what I understand with HTC, is it has it reads the electrical impulses from your fingers, so it knows its skin, like tactile squeezes.
Okay.
So that's how it does a pocket one.
But what about if you're wearing gloves?
Good point. I didn't ask that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I will ask. I'm seeing someone from Google tonight.
Cool.
Very good question. You should be a phone reporter, Andrew London. Did anyone see if it had a notification LED? I didn't see. I hope it does. It has enough bezel to, especially the small one. In fact, both of these phones are more bezel heavy than the small than the counterpart devices. So, for example, the V30 from LG and the Samsung Galaxy S8 have smaller bezels than the Pixel XL2. Pixel 2 XL. The reason is those stereo speakers. This isn't the most bezel-free device in the world. The side bezels, the top bezels, they're pretty much there. So I'm hopeful that Google has taken advantage of that extra space and put an LED light. In fact, it isn't Google. HTC is making the smaller one. LG is manufacturing the bigger one in partnership with Google. How does the Pixel 2 XL compare with the iPhone 8 Plus camera? Haven't done side-by-sides with the camera just yet because we haven't had it in the office, but in terms of sheer specs, they're offering same megapixel counts. And that's 12 megapixels and 12.3 megapixels respectively. They also have similar apertures, f1.8 on the primary lens, and they also both have optical image stabilization. So on paper, they're very, very similar. we're going to have to wait until we get them in. Obviously, the iPhone 8 Plus has that dual camera setup, so you've got that 2x zoom. But me personally, the only thing I'll ever use that for is a portrait mode, because in a low light with its f2.8 aperture, no optical image stabilization, it performs pretty terribly, unfortunately. Is it worth buying the Pixel XL2 for $1,125? That's a really hard question, because me personally, I wouldn't. I'd wait until the price drops, just because I find it very hard to spend that kind of money on anything ever. Even if it is a 1-2 year investment, it would be much more bearable if you were getting it on a kind of contract of some description, or I don't know, paying a portion at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of always the case with these phones, isn't it? That if you think about it as real money, it all gets very scary. That you go, oh, and I've got a payment plan, and it lasts 2 years, and it's a monthly amount that I'm happy with.
I'm more okay with that.
Yeah, but then I suppose that depends on who you are and how you pay for things, and, and what your earnings are like. That if you're the sort of person that actually just wants to pay for it up front and then don't have to worry about it anymore, then it's a different thing.
Couldn't agree with you more. I really couldn't. Samya Kim Saria, remember me, Sam here. Hi Sam. Hi Romeo Diong. Sorry Romeo, I missed your question a bit earlier. If you could throw that back in there. Oh, there you go. High Tech Radar, does the device have LED? Oh, I tried to answer that one. Cool, so I did answer your question eventually. That was a chicken in the background. We also have someone who clocked that my t-shirt is in Portuguese. It is in Portuguese. I am not Portuguese, but they said de nada, so I'm glad you can understand Portuguese. Hope you like the t-shirt. Should I upgrade from the Pixel to the Pixel 2? There's a question. Personally, may not upgrade from the Pixel to the Pixel 2, but would definitely upgrade from the Pixel XL to the Pixel 2 XL. And it's those stereo speakers, the advancements in form factor. The Pixel, if the Pixel was a good phone, the Pixel 2 is a good phone. The Pixel camera is amazing. In fact, a little bit of trivia, the Pixel camera has larger micron pixels. They're 1.55 microns than the 1.4 micron pixels in the Pixel 2. That means it's already got excellent low light performance.
That's a lot of pixels.
It's a lot of little pixels, yeah.
But also the word pixel.
Oh god, yeah. Sorry.
Many of those.
I'm just like my brain is pixeled out after the last 48 hours. I think this is pretty much everything in terms of your questions. I'm going to do a swap out.
It is time to swap over. And so we are going to be getting Jon Porter to come in and sit down, although he has just momentarily walked away, which is nice.
He has. Anything that I didn't answer, by the way, guys, before I dart off, please fire them in the comments section, and myself or one of the phones team will do their best to answer. Hopefully you've enjoyed my part in this chaos.
The gauntlet is past.
On to Jon Porter.
Cool.
Bye bye.
So John's going to come and sit down, and just whilst we have this moment where we're changing over, you may have noticed that we have started doing videos where John, come and sit down. We have started doing videos where we explain some things, and so we explain some things from the world of tech. Oh, John got to sit down. Bing. So we explain things from the world of tech, and so we started off with how to shoot 4K on an iPhone. We are going to be doing more of those videos. If there's anything that you would like us to explain, how things work, what things are, any of that sort of thing, pop them in the comments and we will get round to them. So, John, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How you doing?
Feeling pretty bad.
Why?
Yeah, well, we received a really big cake today, and I was like, oh, I should eat some of that cake, because I'm kind of sitting there working, just like smelling a lot of cake all day.
Yeah.
And then ate some, and now I feel terrible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it not good cake?
No, it was really good cake. Okay. I just ate like a lot of it. It was a really tall cake, so I took like a small slice.
Yes.
And that was just a lot.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't had any cake.
No.
Basil was trying to get me to eat cake here whilst doing this, and I decided against.
That sounds like a good shout.
Yeah.
Basil, Basil doesn't know what's going on. You, however, do.
Yeah. So you are here today to talk to us about Google's offerings in speakers.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the new additions.
So I'm going to back it up a little bit. I'm going to talk about where we've come from so far. Okay. So Google, of course, they started out with the Google Home, which is their first like smart assistant. But then before that, they kind of been doing like voice assistants for years on the phone. Started out as OK Google, then they switched it to Google Assistant, which is much more kind of contextually aware and stuff. So they know what they're doing when it comes to their voice assistants. So finally, they kind of followed the lead of Amazon with the Amazon Echo. They released the Google Home. Home. It's a better speaker. It's probably a better piece of hardware than the Amazon Echo, but I think in terms of like home control, Google Assistant isn't quite as fully featured as Alexa just yet. You know, it doesn't quite kind of understand, like when I was using it, it didn't quite understand me in quite the same way as Alexa did. You know, she just really like got to the heart.
She just
of
gets
what
me.
I needed.
Alexa's been programmed to understand different variations of the ways that questions are asked.
That from my first-hand like use of it, it felt like Google Assistant wasn't quite as good yet at understanding the different ways you can ask the same question and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they've both kind of developed and stuff over time. Amazon, of course, has added the Amazon Echo Dot a couple of years ago, which is the really budget version. So they're just like, if you want a voice assistant, you don't care like how it sounds, get the Dot. And Google kind of followed the lead again with their new speakers. So it's kind of, they announced 2 speakers overall. You have the Google Home Mini, which is a small puck-sized thing that's going to cost $50 in the States and £50 in the UK. And then you've got their kind of big, beefy one, which is the Google Home Max, and that's the one that really, the whole thing is based around this thing sounding as good as possible.
Right.
So the Google Home Mini is kind of following the Amazon's Echo Dot's lead, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of offering that like really cheap entry into the smart home ecosystem. And then the Google Home Max kind of feels like it's following Apple's lead with the HomePod, which hasn't come out yet. It's due to come out in December.
Right.
And it's kind of really focusing on being a premium product, big, beefy. It's got subwoofers. They haven't explained exactly the full like hardware capabilities just yet. And that's really kind of prioritizing sound quality, and it's a lot more expensive. That one's $399 US with international pricing yet to be announced.
Right.
Yes.
Now, one of the things about Google Home was the ability to change things out and swap things for aesthetics.
Yes, yeah, so you could change out the speaker mesh on the bottom. They had like different colors and stuff, so you're like, hey, it'll match like your home surroundings and stuff, so long as your home matches the white plastic bit on the top, because you can't change that one.
Yeah.
They've kind of seemed to have ditched that with the Google Home Mini. I don't know if it's because it's it's smaller and so it'd be more difficult to build different things to make it fit or whatever, or if people just didn't buy the speaker coverings. I mean, I don't know of anyone who did it. So I mean, every single console that's ever come out, there always seems to be some like effort made to have like customizable faceplates and stuff. The 360 had, the PS4 had it.
Yeah.
And those have always fallen by the wayside. It just seems like no one ever cares. So maybe it was that. So yeah, the Mini is like available in 3 colors, available in like a grey, white, and like light pink. I think they're called like charcoal, white, and coral.
Cool.
Yeah, so it seems right. Like I wasn't at the event. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. But apparently it sounds more or less as you'd expect. It sounds like clear, crisp, but completely lacking in bass, which is unsurprising because it's just got a single 40mm driver in there, no subwoofer.
Yep.
So it's not going to give that same level of audio quality as the Google Home, which has like dual passive radiators and like a full range driver that's like 4 inches or something. Whereas the Google Home Max, like for all intents and purposes, that sounds incredible. It's got like 2 woofers in it, which like feels excessive to me. I don't actually know of any other speaker that's like built 2 woofers into a single housing. But yeah, and then it also combines this with them.
You mean a smart speaker that?
No. I mean,
any
like,
speaker
as in,
got 2 woofers into the same casing.
Yes, yeah, at least as far as I know. And then it's also got this like smart room sensing technology, so it kind of, again, like the HomePod seems to have, where it senses your room and it kind of adjusts its audio profile accordingly. So if it's like in a corner, then it's like, oh hey, it's reflecting off these walls, I'll dial it down so it doesn't like boom quite as much, and that sort of thing.
So it feels like with Amazon's range that it feels like there are lots of different devices that are being created, and it's not necessarily that you're going to choose one of them, but you're going to choose which ones to go in what room. That it's like filling your home.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing with the Google setup?
Probably, I think. I mean, I could see the Google Home Max being your living room speaker, maybe the Google Home Mini being a kitchen speaker and a bedroom speaker, and then the standard Google Home going in the drawing room.
Yeah.
The aviary.
One thing that the Amazon speakers range has that the Google ones currently don't is a screen.
Yeah, so of course, so Amazon has done the Amazon Echo Show in the States. That's set to come to the UK, and it's also just announced the Amazon Echo Spot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, those kind of like add some interesting features. You can obviously like watch videos, though not from YouTube because Google's pulled that. And you can do like video calling and that sort of stuff, which seems cool because I mean certainly like for example, one of the things you can do on both smart speakers, I believe, is ask about your commute. So you can like set a home address and a work address, and you can go like, hey, how's my commute? And it'll go, there's traffic on X road. Which is cool, but I feel like that's the kind of question where if you had a screen there, it could give you a lot more helpful information. It would not just go, hey, there's a lot of traffic on the like A40, because every road in the UK is apparently an A road or a B road. It could go like, oh, there's traffic between these 2 points. It could show it on a map, and that's like, I feel far more useful. So like, I'm not opposed to the idea of a screen being on a smart speaker. There were rumors coming into this event that Google was going to do a similar thing, and so some people had said that maybe Google had taken YouTube off the Amazon Echo Show because it was planning on launching its own smart speaker, and then it could go like, hey, this is the only smart speaker with YouTube. That didn't happen. I believe there are patents still floating around, so maybe we'll see it in the future. Maybe it just wasn't ready. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how Google has been. Oh no, maybe I'm actually like having this the wrong way around, but I think definitely like Google and Amazon are like rushing forward with a lot of this stuff, trying to like beat the other one to the punch. It's very competitive, which I think is very good. So maybe we'll probably see that sooner rather than later. But of course, like the other kind of weird side of this is that Amazon and Google have both been really eager to get other manufacturers building these smart speakers. So Amazon's kind of gone, oh hey, like our API is open. You could even like manufacturers can buy the same hardware as Amazon. They're like that same 6 microphone array, 5 microphone array.
I think it's 6.
And build it into their own products. So like in Europe, Panasonic has done one, JBL's done them, Harman, like all these other manufacturers, Sonos. Just today, we'll get onto that announcement in a bit. All building their own Alexa speakers. So I made a prediction a couple of months ago that I thought that Google and Amazon were going to kind of take a step back hardware-wise, and I thought it was going to be like the early years of Android, where Google was kind of going to go, here's the software, and just let everyone else do what they wanted with it. As it turns out, Google and Amazon definitely want fingers in the hardware pie, and they definitely want to have their own hand in making the hardware. So it's going to be interesting seeing how that kind of pans out. Like if other manufacturers are going to like maybe not release as many, because who wants to compete against the Google Home? Google owns Google Assistant, and it can integrate them much better than anyone else could, presumably.
So it's an interesting thing, because I totally agreed with you that was a thing that looked like it was happening. I wonder whether or not it's just a race for being ubiquitous, that it's trying to get as much of your digital assistant, as much of your hardware, as much of you out there into the smart home world, so that you own more of the land, basically.
And so like if you're a smart home company and you have to pick which one to support, then you're more likely to support. If you're Google, you want people to support like Google Assistant, smart home stuff. It feels like it. I think there's a lot of disagreement out there at the moment. Like talking to Panasonic, for example, I kind of said, oh, like you've chosen to support Google Assistant, why not Alexa? And they kind of went a little bit patronizingly like, yeah, but Google Assistant is the one. But you talk to other people and they're like, no way, like Alexa is going to be dominant. Like no one really knows. It's a real 2-horse race, and I think it's definitely a good thing.
And so what's going to happen when Apple's HomePod lands? Everything's called a pod.
So many pods.
Many pods.
So I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't have that much faith in Apple, and the reason I don't have faith in Apple is because it feels like Apple doesn't have faith in the HomePod.
Okay.
They announced the HomePod at WWDC earlier this year, back in March, April, one of the months.
A month.
It was before summer, and so who cares? And then like at their iPhone launch, where you'd imagine they'd come up on stage and go, "Hey, we have more details on the HomePod," and they'd show off more of it and stuff, and answer some of those questions like, "Will it support anything other than AirPlay?" And they just didn't. They didn't show it off at all. And so like December is rapidly approaching. They've announced US pricing. I think they've announced worldwide availability, but they haven't announced price in the UK. Let alone other countries. And so all these unanswered questions that Apple doesn't really seem to be addressing. And it just feels, I don't know. I don't see HomePod. Like if it does come out and it only supports AirPlay, then what? You're tied into Apple's ecosystem for like years.
Like there is the possibility that they're being super secretive because it's going to be revolutionary. And that's why they're not like, just to play devil's advocate. But there is the possibility that that's going to be what happens, that it arrives and everyone goes, oh, this is what it was capable of.
I admire your optimism.
Thanks.
Definitely. But it just, Siri, like, considering Siri was so early out of the gate and Apple has had a good number of years to develop it, Siri is still thick as mud.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, one of the ones I tried the other day, and, maybe this has been fixed since. I haven't checked it again. As I asked, when was the Mona Lisa painted? Because I was like, that's a very generic fact that you would think it would know. And embarrassingly, I can't actually remember the year the Mona Lisa was painted, but it read out the date as 1703. Like, it didn't know that it was a date to read it out as like 1703.
Yeah,
it might be that date.
Yeah. So we've got a question from Matthew Lee, hello, who has asked, why isn't Microsoft in the smart speaker market?
Good question.
Yeah, and so it's weird in terms of, so Microsoft's digital assistant, Cortana, is in the smart speaker market.
Yeah.
The Harman, I always call them Harman Kardon, and that's not their name.
Harman Kardon.
Harman Kardon's speaker, the Invoke, which is coming later this year, has got Cortana in it. But actually, in terms of Microsoft making its own smart speaker,
I don't know, like, Microsoft and hardware are always strange. It felt like Cortana made way more sense back when Microsoft was doing Windows Phone.
Yeah.
And so then they could go, hey, iOS has Siri, Android has Google Assistant, we've got Cortana. And that made sense.
Yeah.
Now that Microsoft is taking a step back from that, and it's only doing kind of computer OSs and it's not doing mobile OSs anymore, Cortana, I think, makes less sense on a computer. Yes, you could plug in a microphone into your computer and say, hey, Cortana, or whatever the wake word is, open up X. You could, but no one will, because a mouse and keyboard is a really efficient way of like, controlling a machine.
Yep.
So I don't know. I like the Harman Kardon Invoke speaker has it's been shown off in the wild. Harman don't really seem to be making a big deal of it. Like at various trade shows, I believe at MWC, it was just on their stand, but it wasn't plugged in. They weren't demoing it off.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of confidence behind it. It doesn't feel like they're pushing it. And I believe we can link to this in the comment. We did a comparison of smart assistants like ages ago between Alexa, Cortana, Siri, and Google Assistant, and Cortana was like left in the dust. Cortana couldn't really keep up with the rest of them, which is a shame because competition is always a good thing, but kind of seems a bit listless at the moment on the Cortana front.
So the British Unknown has said, I'm here finally. Hello, our favourite Apache helicopter, is that what?
Yeah, it was an Apache helicopter.
Yeah.
And missed the live stream on Tuesday. We noticed.
So, slightly not what we were previously talking about, but things called pods.
Smooth segue.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice.
Skillful.
Very good.
Google has released a thing called Pod.
Pixel Buds.
Pixel Buds.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because they're like earbuds.
Because they're like earbuds. Nice.
As opposed to the AirPods. Anyway,
AirPods.
Probably not important. So yeah, these are some really interesting products. They demoed those on stage. For those that aren't tech journalists and weren't watching along live, they're basically these little headphones with Google Assistant built in. Put them in your ears, and the way they showed them off was acting as a kind of like almost real-time translation device. So someone comes up to you. Yeah, the Babelfish, finally. Yeah. So someone comes up to you and speaks in a foreign language, like, I'm not going to do an impression because that would come across as very insulting. Yep. But they say something you don't understand. And then presumably before they start speaking, you press the button and it hears it and then just translates it directly into your ear in whatever language you can understand. Yeah, and so it uses the Pixel phone, doesn't it, to do the translation? I believe so, yes. Yeah, and so it's similar to like the Bragi Dash Pros that we tried them out with. iTranslate it uses, and so you press a button and then you say something and then it reads out what that is in the computerized voice of that language, and then they press the translate to English button, say it in their language, and you hear it in your ear. And that's how the Bragis worked. Yeah. And so we imagine that it's probably going to be a similar... I think so. I think like the weird thing about headphones is that they're only one way. So they'll be really helpful if someone is speaking to you, but as soon as you have to talk back, then you're going to have to talk into your phone and use your phone's speaker to like play back and stuff. So that side of things feels less seamless, maybe. Feels like in an ideal world, everyone would be wearing those headphones. But like, if I don't know, say I'm traveling in France, like you're not going to go into a shop and see someone wearing a pair of Pixel Buds. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they showed it off on stage. The demo, unsurprisingly, went very well. But when my colleague Gareth Beavis tried it out in person, that functionality wasn't working yet, and so all he could really establish was that there are a pair of headphones that sound quite nice.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, they'll be that, which is no bad thing. So yeah, it will depend on a lot of things. It'll depend whether the microphone in the earbud is like strong enough to be able to hear someone who's maybe like standing 5 feet away from you. It'll depend on how seamless the whole like pressing your ear thing to like listen to someone is. It'll depend on a lot of things, but potentially really cool.
And also, a thing that is going to be a major stumbling block in terms of instant translation is the ability to recognize what the person is saying. That, like, we're still not really there. Like, even these dictation softwares where you get some really incredible dictation software, you have to train it for a really long time to understand your voice before it can actually go, that's what they're saying. And even then, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And so what we're expecting these translation things to do is to meet somebody that it's never heard before, hear them speak rapidly in another language, go, those are all of the words, translate those words into a different language, and then, like... It feels magical, but I think it feels magical because it was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and we all want it, and also because it feels like quite a leap from where we are in terms of dictation technology.
I agree. I mean, and also it's been observed that Google Translate works a lot better for European languages than it does for languages like in other parts of the world. Yeah. Really interesting story behind that, and it's because I mean, I'm going to use the phrase that Google overused last night, and that we all. If we're playing a drinking game, we take a shot every single time they use this phrase. Yeah. It's because of the machine learning and the way that a lot of that data comes from European Union documents, which, as part of the European Union process, get translated into every single language and then are made public because it's a public organisation. So it means that the European Union has this like massive resource of all of these documents that say exactly the same thing in all of the different languages of the European Union. So Google's algorithms just scrape that all and then use that to like feed its like translation software. Obviously, outside of the EU, there aren't really any organisations that do that to the same extent. I guess obviously the European Union, the United Nations would be a kind of a similar organisation, but I don't think they do that to quite the same extent. So that's potentially another problem. I know we've got a lot of Indian viewers watching at the moment, so like Hindi and stuff might not be quite as well handled by Google Translate and by extension the Pixel. But...
Yes, we've got 1 minute left, so I'm just going to look and see questions, if we've got any questions. So, which is better value, Echo Dot or Google Home Mini from the British Unknown?
I think Echo Dot. I think Alexa's better. I have used an Echo Dot a lot, and yeah, it seems really good.
Yep, cool.
But that might change. We haven't had the Pixel Mini in for proper review yet.
Yeah, and so Lewis underneath was saying they are both the same price in the UK, innit?
Yes, both £49.
Yeah, exactly. So, Brian Calderon said, I thought conversation mode on Google Translate's apps works pretty great without headphones. So, if it's already working well, it would make sense that the headphones would then complement that, which is great.
Yeah, like, so I suppose headphones kind of like help. It makes it slightly more private, and maybe you can do it more in like a public space. But yeah, no, like definitely, it's been something that definitely has felt like the first time you use it feels kind of magical. Yeah, because it's quite seamless.
Cortana Home incoming we've already answered from Brian Calderon, and Brian also asked Bixby Home incoming.
Actually, no, there was a news story about this a while back. So there were rumours that Samsung was working on a smart speaker, and then a couple of weeks later, rumours emerged that they'd cancelled that. Their argument was that the sector is getting really crowded and that it's kind of difficult to make stuff stand out in that way. I'm kind of in favour. I don't really like Bixby that much. Samsung SmartThings has a lot of... different manufacturers signed up to it, but ultimately Samsung SmartThings plugs quite nicely into Alexa, and so I don't think it could add too much that the Alexa ecosystem isn't doing already. Yeah. But if Amazon did it well, more competition, always a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So that is today. I have been Andrew London.
I've been Jon Porter.
Thank you very much.
See ya.